Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends who love to talk about murder and everything else. So, Joy, you got your wish. We got a comment from a listener.
I
So,
know.
you guys, if you want to read the comment, it's on YouTube and it is on our Darlie Routier episode. So, someone had some feedback and actually more information than what I found. So if you are interested, you go and check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's not one comment, it's 10 comments.
Yes.
So thank you. We love getting feedback. It doesn't matter which platform. We're on a bunch of them. But that's so cool. You know what? We asked and the universe delivered.
That's right.
That's right. That's so cool. Anyway, when you said we are two old friends, I wanted to say we are two badass bitches that like to get together and talk about murder and everything else. I like to talk about everything else. Cheryl likes to talk about murder.
Bad fishes.
That's right. Anywho, uh, I just have to say that I know that Cheryl and I talked about not going over like our analytics and our like data and all that, but we picked up two new Spotify subscribers in the last week. Two.
Yay! Awesome.
Yeah. And that's very
Thank
exciting.
you.
We've also picked up two YouTube subscribers in the last month.
What?
Yep. So, anyhow, I am not sick anymore. You can hear my voice sounds great. I have a little cough left over. And for those of you who, yeah, those of you that are moms, we all celebrated Mother's Day not too long ago. So, happy belated Mother's Day. And I
Yeah.
just have to give a shout out right now, Cheryl, and
Mm-hmm.
just say there's a lot of people out there who have lost their mothers and when Mother's Day happens, it is sad. It's not like exciting. I mean, it's not
A joy. It's not a joyous
yeah, it's
day for
not something
sure.
that you celebrate. So for all those people out there grieving the loss of a mother, or grieving the loss of a child, just remember that you are not alone. There's a lot of us out there that have lost our mothers. And there are a lot of people out there who don't have relationships with their mothers, or their mothers choose not to have relationships with them. And you know what? It's okay. It's just another day, like any other day. And you're a special person. And, I don't know where your mom is if she's not here anymore. But you know what? Just know that you're a special person. So anyway, and then I don't know if any of you are following these P. Diddy trial updates, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. This woman, Cassie Ventura, I think that's her last name.
Yes.
She's on the stand right now, and they're basically like laying it out. I don't know. I don't know who the defense is or who the plaintiff or the town crier is. I don't know the names of all the people.
Oh
But
gosh.
what I can say is this, they are basically, they're interviewing her, whatever, asking her questions, testifying, whatever it's called, to set the stage for this racketeering and sex trafficking charges that he is trying to get out from underneath. And I got to say, it is pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. Like he was married to this woman, Kim Porter, while he was having, okay, let's just back up. He was married, I think, to Kim Porter when he was dating like J Lo and a bunch of other people. But this poor woman, Cassie, I think she was like 37 or 38. She was 19 or something like that when she got involved with him. She wanted to be a singer. And he just took her down this merry path of just like peeing in her mouth and just being
Oh.
basically a horrible individual, beating her up and like having her go to like Backpage and Craigslist and find dudes to like, you know, give her the time of day while he sat in the corner with a mask on. I'm sorry. Like if you like to get your freak on doing freaky shit, like just make sure it's consensual for everyone. Have a safe word. Have 5 safe words. Scream them out if you don't feel safe, okay? Have an
Yeah, but
extra flip phone that you're hiding in your, I don't know, your mulberry bush and pull it out and then be like 911. I'm sorry, but just the details of this thing. She said she loved him. She wanted attention from him. She thought they were in a relationship, but the only way he was in a relationship with her was by like abusing her and just treating her like trash.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, celebrities have a lot of power, and the people around him, no one helped her. Well, not I
Yeah,
shouldn't say no one, but a lot of
enabled.
his, yeah, they were like, I'm not going to speak for them, but they were, I don't know, under his spell too, or
Well,
yeah, yeah.
and I think he was in denial that he was ever going to get caught or have to stand and face the music. And guess what? Denial, it ain't just a river in Egypt.
Jeez. And then is that witness? I sent you something on. There's a third. One of the third witnesses went missing. Now I don't mean to be like, missing could mean that he or she just doesn't want to be found. I mean, I
Yeah.
hope that's it, and it's nothing
Well, and
more
that
um,
nefarious.
nefarious.
I've also seen posts where people like, of course, anytime you have something like this, there's all these conspiracy theories that come out. But now someone's saying we need to exhume Kim Porter's body
Well,
because apparently she died of pneumonia, but they're saying maybe she didn't. Maybe it was something else. So it's like, I mean, I will say there's going to be a lot of like, like chatter out there, but I will say that his family was his children and his mother were a very, very unified front in the courtroom until Cassie's testimony started coming out. And then the first people to leave were his daughters. And now people have left. And I got to tell you, it's got to be very troubling for the family to listen to this because what I do know about people who are criminals and who are incarcerated is you know, your relationship with your parent can be very, very different than, like, say, the parent's relationship with a lover,
right.
you
Yeah, for
know?
sure.
So
Uh-huh.
maybe he was a loving, doting father. I don't know. But he definitely was not a loving, doting lover. I mean, the
Right.
guy was like, I mean, he talk about scary. She talks about how she needed more drugs so she could blot everything out and how she wanted to commit suicide and tried. And I mean, just like awful things. Guys, if it hurts, it's not love. Cheryl and I have said this so many times. I think we need to write a book called If It Hurts, It's Not Love.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But I'm glad that she got out. I mean, she didn't get out unscathed, unfortunately, because a lot of that is trauma that she'll probably
Oh
carry with
yeah.
her. But at least I'm glad that she escaped alive. And isn't she married now? And she has kids.
Yeah,
Anyway, I
she
hope.
and she's visibly pregnant with her third child. And so imagine having to go. I was like 9 months pregnant and went to go see Kill Bill, and I got to tell you, I was like trying to cover up my belly because I was afraid the baby could hear. Because that movie is very violent.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, my last update is Cheryl and I are now no longer recording on Skype. Thank you very much, Skype. We're not on Teams. Thank you very much, Teams. We're not on Meet because thank you very much. Anyway, we're on Zoom. So if this sounds funky, it's because we're on a new platform. We're giving it a whirl. Thanks to my husband who swept in at the ninth hour or the 12th hour or whatever the hour is and saved our asses with his technical prowess. Because, as you guys know, if I have to change the streaming platform or the recording platform or the software or whatever one more time, I swear to you, I'm going to have an aneurysm. How many times, Cheryl? How many times have we changed?
I've lost count.
I swear to you, we've tried everything that's out there. Anyway, Cheryl, what are your updates?
and I can't. I was trying. I'm like ferociously, is that the right word? Trying to find the mute button because I want to cough. And I can't find it because this is a
I
new
know.
platform.
I know.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and clear my throat and cough, and you're gonna
That's
get the
right.
raw audio. So
Guys,
anyway.
that's not all I've heard today. Uh,
Okay, so for those of you who are have been following or interested in the Idaho murders, Dateline released a an episode on the case, and it's called The Terrible Night on King Road, and it's very good. And what I'm hearing now is that some people are going to be held accountable, or I don't know, they've been found out or whatever to have leaked information. Because if you watch that special, it's like, whoa, how did they know that? And the special is really good, everyone, because I know when you go to the internet, you see breaking news or brand new evidence in the Coburg. And then when you go to it, you're like, no, I've heard this. It's already been out. But, people do that to catch, it's clickbait, right?
right.
Well, this Dateline episode truly has stuff that has not been out there. So if you are interested in this case, I would go
Ooh.
and watch it. Also, I heard that the the Menendez brothers went to a resentencing hearing, and now I guess the judge has to decide, they could be paroled or they could
Wow.
have their sentence. So their sentence was changed. It was life without the possibility of parole, and now it's with the possibility. So, and
Wow.
depending on what the judge decides, he could say, he or she, I think it's a he, uh, could say, yeah, they've done enough, So anyway, that's my updates. Pretty
Wow.
exciting stuff.
That is exciting. Thanks for the update, Cheryl. Hey, guys, I have a shout out today for Portland, Oregon. I went to Portland, Oregon last weekend to spend some time with bestest, um, my bestest Heidi, and
Aw.
that's my niece. And I got to see some old friends that we used to hang out with when we lived in Portland. Hey, Stephen Manu. And then I got to meet Heidi's four cats. And we got to wander around Powell's and the Pearl. We went to Northwest 23rd. We went to Southeast where I used to live. Oh my gosh, Cheryl. First of all, I just love Portland, Oregon. And also, you when you're coming into Portland International Airport, you fly right past. It's like you fly past the three sisters. You can see them: Mount Rainier, Mount Hood on one side, Mount Bachelor on the other. I mean, and then Mount St. Helens. And the first day I was there, it was clear. You could see all of the mountains. It was
Mm.
so beautiful, and they're
Oh,
all snow capped. And let me just tell you, there's nothing snow capped in the South right now. As a matter of fact, today was like 89 degrees with like 175% humidity. So it was like actually like brisk and balmy and kind of cold for me. I had to bring like some short sleeve things and some sandals and then also some winter things. And packing for a trip when you have to bring like cold things and warm things, that's a real challenge.
it is.
But I also am going to just say, and this is the truth, I didn't have a bad meal or a bad cup of coffee the whole time I was in Portland, Oregon. Thank you so much for having the best fucking coffee on every street corner, the best food trucks, the best food truck like where you have like 12 to 15 food trucks in a city block and it's just like this little, but they're like there all the time. They don't like rodeo and rodeo out. They stay there. And then the food. Oh my God, Cheryl, why hasn't the South embraced the burrito?
Oh man, you don't have burritos over there?
We do, but they're not like West Coast burritos.
Remember when we worked together? So if you guys
Remember King Burrito?
we used to go,
Ugh.
Joy and I met each other in Oregon working at an internet company. And at lunch, we used to go to the food truck and get those massive burritos.
Oh, and you could
They're
eat them for
so
like,
good.
remember you could make like 3 meals out of them. They were
Yeah,
huge.
they're so good.
Anyway, guys, it was so, Cheryl, it was so, and I drove past our old house where we brought our oldest daughter home, who,
Oh,
oh, it was, and of course it's been painted, looks nice. And it was just so cool. It just made me remember like once upon a time I was young and dumb and taking cabs all over town and going to bars and restaurants and parties and working. I did have a career. But it was just it was like the right time to live in the city like that. And Portland was such a fun city back then. If you take the rain away, it was really fun.
yeah, the rain
Yeah.
is a big deal. But
And also it's so awesome, Cheryl, because like that's how we met.
yeah,
Was
I
living and
know.
where I and it's so neat. It's like I don't know, I just kind of felt like it's such a great part of
Nostalgic.
like yeah, it's like it's our origin story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
Anyway, what
that's
kind of
nice.
shout outs do you have, Baka?
Well, my shout out, I listen to, I listen to other podcasts and I watch YouTube channels
Shut the front door.
and I've heard other podcasters say, well, you're not really supposed to talk about other podcasts or shout them out, which I don't know that rule because I
Ugh.
don't think shouting out a very popular uh, podcast is going to diminish our subscribers. But so
Right?
you know that I watch and listen to Bad Friends, right? Well,
Right?
they just hit 2 million subscribers, but
Whoa.
but that's not my shout out. I mean, yes, I'm happy for you for them. Yes, golf clap, yay! But okay, so the two hosts on that are Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee, and my shout out is to both of them, but mostly to Andrew because the other week he talked about how much he hated Honora, the movie. But
Ugh.
no, but that's not really what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so Love on the Spectrum on Netflix, you guys, if you don't know about this show, it's about people on this autism spectrum trying to find love. And on a couple of weeks ago, the episode of Bad Friends, Andrew, they're just chit chatting, and Andrew goes, yeah, I'm watching the third season of Love on the Spectrum. And Bobby Lee, like, goes, oh, I watched the whole thing. And Andrew says, don't spoil anything for me. And then Bobby Lee cannot help himself. And he talks about something that happens in episode 7. I will not spoil anything. And Andrew gets so mad at him. And he's like, I said, and Bobby Lee cannot help. And so he starts talking about, and then
It's
Andrew
like
goes,
he has
fine.
Tourette's.
And then Andrew goes, fine, just tell me. And then when Bobby said it, I was like, oh, that is a spoiler. Oh my God. So I'm not going to say what it is. But what tickled my fancy, what just made me so gleeful were these two men. One is in his 40s, one is in his 50s, and they're talking about love on the spectrum. It was it just
Aw.
made my heart because these guys can be very crass in some of their
Yeah.
humor, and the guests that they have on and some of the skits that they do can be very crass and crude. So to
Right.
see them talking and then bantering as like like women would, I mean, I'm not saying that obviously men watch this show too, but how passionate they were. Like it was it just made me so happy. And then when I saw episode 7, I was like, oh my God. So if you are interested in having your spirits lifted, you have
Lifted.
got to watch Love on the Spectrum season 3. If you're not interested in going back and watching season 1 and 2, you don't have to. You can enjoy season 3 on its own. Anyway,
Interesting.
so my shout out is to Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee because they just had me laughing. Uh,
That's so cool. I haven't watched. I'm so behind. I'm still trying to get through The Crown. And then I have The Handmaid's Tale queued up, and then I just started watching Conan Must Go, which there's a season two. The first episode's Spain, and it's so good.
So
So
funny, you guys.
I also haven't watched White Lotus season two and three, which I need to catch up on. I heard it's amazing. I heard there's a Hottie McHottie Pants in season two that I need to check out.
Oh,
And I know. And then did I talk about Baby Girl?
yes, you did.
Okay. Oh God.
I'm not
So
watching that.
somebody needs to take like bleach to my brain because I still can't get it out of my head. Anyway, guys, okay, this is where we're gonna just tease a little bit. I know we don't usually do this, but I'm gonna just tease this a little because I think this is so fun. And I'm just gonna put this out there for those of you listening. Cheryl and I are going to take a road trip. And we're going to record, and I'll tell you it's going to be epic. So we're going to do it in two parts. So you're going to want to tune in for those because they're going to be so much fun. First of all, I haven't seen Cheryl for what, 7 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Has it really been 7 years? Shut the fuck up. Anyway,
Yeah.
7 years.
7 years.
I mean, and we've
In
been doing
person.
this podcast. We're on season three. So we've been doing this for 2.5 years. So we see each other on like Skype and stuff like that. Well, not Skype anymore. Thanks a lot, Skype. But anyway, so it's gonna be, I'm teasing it. It's coming this summer. It's gonna be so fun. And it's gonna be maybe a little harebrained, maybe a little crazy. We're gonna have a little mascot with us. I'm hoping she has some wardrobe malfunctions. I might have some cute little like sexy outfits that I'm going to showcase, but you won't be able to see them, but you'll be able to hear them as they're like coming through my voice. And then Cheryl's gonna have her regular fuck me dresses that she always wears.
I bet
All
they
right.
can't wait to hear this.
Yeah. Anywho, I promise Cheryl I won't bring any more than four pairs of shoes. Okay.
Jesus.
So, guys, this week, back by popular demand. Yes, I know. The murder episodes are so much more fun and more interesting. What do you have for us this week, Cheryl?
Well, this is a case or a story that happened while I lived in California in the LA area. And
In
it,
1875.
yes, in a covered wagon. Um,
Uh,
but it reminds me of the OJ trial and case because I lived in that area and I remember when this was going on. And something I was listening to about a month ago made a reference to this man that we're going to talk about. And I was like, oh, that's a good case to bring back and talk about. Bring back for those of you who know it and to learn about it for those of you who haven't. So we are going to talk about Christopher Dorner and what made a police officer kill. My sources are Wikipedia, ABC News, and US News. So Christopher Jordan Dorner was born on June 4th, 1979, and grew up in Southern California. He attended Cypress Hill High School in Cypress, California, where he graduated in 1997. He later graduated from Southern Utah University in 2001 with a major in political science and a minor in psychology.
do
While
you
there,
remember
he was,
Cypress? Do you remember Cypress Hill, that hip hop group?
yes, what song did they sing? I thought it
Yeah,
was House
no,
of
they did.
Pain.
Insane in the
Membrane.
membrane.
Oh, okay.
Insane in the brain.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Otis. Okay, so while there, he was a running back on the university's football team from 1999 to 2000. Dorner later stated that he was the only African American student in his school from first grade to seventh grade, and that he had altercations due to racism. When he was a teenager, he decided to become a police officer. Neighbors described Dorner as belonging to an admired, well liked family and a man who usually kept to himself. He was previously married with no children. Court records show his wife filed for divorce in 2007. Dorner was a United States Navy Reserve officer commissioned in 2002. He was honorably discharged from the Navy Reserve on February 1st, 2013, with the rank of lieutenant. In 2002, while a student
Why
in
was he honorably discharged? Do you know?
um, I think I'm about to talk about it.
Okay. I'm just like it usually if it's an honorable discharge, because they have like dishonorable discharge, medical discharge, and honorable discharge.
Yeah. Uh, no, I don't think this is why. I do not know, but in 2002, which was the year he was commissioned as a United States Navy officer, while a student in undergraduate pilot training at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, is that how you pronounce it?
Enid,
Enid,
I guess, or Enid. I don't know. Enid,
found a
Enid.
bag. Enid. Dorner and a classmate found a bag containing nearly $8,000, equivalent to about $14,000 in 2024, that belonged to the nearby Enid Korean Church of Grace. The two
Wow.
handed the money back to the two handed the money to the police, and when asked their motive, Dorner replied that the military stresses integrity, but somewhere along the line, Christopher Dorner's life went dramatically awry.
Uh-oh.
Christopher Dorner's downward spiral appears to have begun in 2008 when he was dismissed from the LAPD on a charge of making false statements. Dorner was suspected of 3 revenge killings. Dor-
Whoa.
Dorner's killing spree began with a package stating his complaint sent to Anderson Cooper and arriving at CNN on February 1st, 2013. In Dorner's manifesto, he accused the Los Angeles Police Department of systemic misconduct. Dorner claimed there was a culture of racism, corruption, and a code of silence in the department.
Isn't this the same police department that like almost basically killed Rodney King by beating the crap out of him?
Yeah.
So he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that far off, right?
Dorner claimed there was a culture of racism, corruption, and a code of silence in the department, allegations that have been leveled at the LAPD before. In the manifesto, Dorner claimed he was dismissed when he broke that code of silence. He wrote that he saw a superior officer kicking a mentally ill man. Dorner was suspected of killing Monica Kwan and her fiance Keith Lawrence as they sat in their car in the parking lot of their condominium complex. Both were struck with multiple gunshot wounds. Dorner's manifesto specifically named Monica's father, Randall Kwan, and his family as targets. Randall Kwan was a retired captain with the LAPD, and he was the attorney who represented Dorner before the police review board that led to Dorner's dismissal from the force
Oh
in
man.
2008. Randall Kwan reported he received a taunting call from Dorner, who told him that Kwan, quote unquote, should have done a better job of protecting his daughter. After the first killings, the threats in his manifesto caused law enforcement to mount a widespread manhunt that spread from California to Nevada and Mexico. Protection details were set up for over 40 potential targets of Dorner, and thousands of police were assigned to patrol highways across Southern California. The LAPD also took patrol officers off motorcycles for their protection. On February 7, two LAPD officers were driving to a protection detail where they were assigned as security for one of the officers potentially targeted by Dorner when they were flagged down by R.L. McDaniel at about 1 a.m.
You know what would be
McDan-
really cool if those two police officers were Eric Estrada and that blonde guy.
from Chips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. McDaniel reported seeing a man matching Dorner's description at a gas station in Corona. The officers investigated the report and they were following a pickup truck when the driver stopped, got out, and fired a rifle at them, grazing the head of one officer.
Jeez
About
Louise.
about 20 minutes after the Corona shooting, two officers of the police department in neighboring Riverside were ambushed and shot while stopped in their marked patrol unit at a red traffic light. One officer, Michael Crane, died shortly after the shooting. The other was rushed to a nearby hospital in critical condition for surgery and survived. In the early morning hours of February 7, 2013, police fired on people who turned out to be unrelated to Dorner. At about 5:30 a.m., at least 7 LAPD officers on a protection detail of an unnamed LAPD official's residence opened fire on the back of a light blue Toyota Tacoma and shot its two occupants,
Oh,
70,
jeez.
71-year-old Emma Hernandez and her daughter, 47-year-old Margie Carranza. They were delivering newspapers for the Los Angeles Times.
Oh,
The
God.
vehicle, according to officers, was thought by police to match the description of Dorner's Nissan Titan and was moving without its headlights on. Hernandez was shot in the back and Carranza received wounds to her hand. Their attorney claimed police had no idea who was in the vehicle when they opened fire, and that nothing about his clients or their vehicle matched the descriptions given of the suspect or his truck. The two women stated they were given no warning prior to being fired upon. A neighbor said the truck was used every day to deliver newspapers, and the women who used it kept their headlights off so as not to wake people up.
Oh,
The two women
God.
were injured, but both survived, fortunately. The LAPD started an internal investigation into the shooting. According to their attorney, 102 bullets were found in the truck. The LAPD declined to confirm the total number of officers involved or how many bullets were fired
Whoa.
or if any verbal warnings were given to the women
A
before the shooting
hundred,
began.
102? Like, what were
Yeah,
there 300 people in the truck?
that's the thing is
You have
they
two
just
unarmed women. One is elderly,
yeah. And
delivering newspapers,
mhm,
and you just start unloading 102 bullet. That
can you
makes
imagine that?
that's oh my God. I mean, what like that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Like talk about wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, there were two
Oh
of them in the car. They were women. They're looking for a black man, and there's two women, and the truck doesn't even match. But it gets much worse. Thankfully, they survived.
God.
Approximately 25 minutes after that incident, officers from the Torrance Police Department, the TPD, opened fire on and struck another vehicle. Like the first shooting, the incident involved a vehicle that police claimed resembled the description of Dorner's truck, but was later discovered to be a black Honda Ridgeline driven by someone named David Perdue, a white male. A police cruiser slammed into Perdue's pickup and officers opened fire. Perdue, who was on his way to the beach to surf, was not hit by any of the bullets,
What does
but
TPD stand for?
Torrance Police Department.
Oh, wait, did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Guys, the
so,
Alzheimer's coming in strong today.
so, uh, so Perdue, excuse me, was on his way to the beach. He was not hit by any of the bullets, thankfully, but reportedly suffered injuries as a result of the car impacts because the police slammed into his truck and then opened fire. And by some miracle, he's not hit by any of the bullets, but the impact of the crash, he suffered injuries from that. Police claimed that Perdue's pickup truck matched the description of the one belonging to Dorner. However, the Times reported that the vehicle involved was once again a different make and color to that of the suspects, and that Perdue looks nothing like the suspect.
Well,
I would say so. First of
I
all, he's white and
I
Dorner is
will
black.
I will say this. Um, whenever there's like, I don't know if you remember, it wasn't that long ago that there was like two inmates that escaped from like uh pretty high, like security prison. And I
Hmm.
want to say it was like somewhere on the East Coast, but people were on high alert. I mean,
Hmm.
high alert. They warn people like, do not open your doors. Do not let, like, don't answer, your door at night, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you have floodlights, keep them on. Be very, and they kept putting these pictures out. And so I will say, that because this Dorner guy was on the lam, I think that the cops were just like extra, extra hyper, like paranoid or something.
Probably, yeah. They wanted to catch this guy, you know, badly, and he was like on a killing spree. So yeah, I guess, but I mean, shooting up the car, shooting up the
Yeah.
truck,
No, it's
and they
it's
didn't do it just
crazy.
once. They didn't do it once. They did it twice. Thankfully, this guy is alive or was alive after this. I don't know where he is today. But in April 2013, the LAPD paid a $4.2 million settlement to Emma Hernandez and Margie Carranza. The
Good.
city of Torrance, listen to this, the city of Torrance initially offered a $500,000 settlement to David Perdue, who rejected the offer. Good for him. With the
Mhm.
Purdue case set to go to trial, the parties reached an agreement for a $1.8 million settlement.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like, I don't think so. You almost killed me, crashed into my car. I mean, like, yeah. On February 4th, 2014, LAPD Chief Charlie Beck announced that 8 officers had violated the LAPD's use of force policy and would be disciplined. Beck noted that California state law prevents him from disclosing the nature of the discipline publicly, but that the discipline could range from extensive retraining up to termination. Disciplinary actions for the officers involved did not include criminal charges. Hours later, the burning remains of Dorner's vehicle, which was a dark gray 2005 Nissan Titan, were found on a remote fire trail by a local near Big Bear Lake, about 80 miles from Los Angeles. So I remember this. I mean, I was living in LA, and Big Bear holds a special memory for me because my sister and I used to go and vacation there a lot. So anyway, now this thing has moved to Big Bear. So I just remember
Whoa.
like living it real time. Investigators spread out to search for Dorner in the surrounding area, and about 125 officers went from door to door. All schools in the Bear Valley Unified School District were placed in a state of lockdown. On February 12th, deputies of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, also known as the SBSD, responded to a report of the carjacking of a white Dodge truck at 12:22 p.m. and began looking for the vehicle on the ground and from the air. The truck's driver had not been harmed. Fish and wildlife officers were the first to spot the vehicle and recognize Dorner as the driver. Officers from numerous agencies chased Dorner to a cabin near Big Bear Lake. Dorner opened fire on 2 SBSD officers, hitting both. The officers were airlifted to Loma Linda University Medical Center, where Detective Jeremiah McKay was pronounced dead. So that
Hey,
is now,
Loma Linda University Medical Center is an Adventist medical center. I was raised Adventist. And that's where my buddy Steve went to medical school that I
oh,
just saw
really?
in Portland. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
it's also where Ben Carson was neurosurgeon. It's also where they did that baby Faye. Didn't they take like a heart from a monkey and transplant it into baby Faye, and she lived like a week or two or something and then died? It was like a big thing.
Oh, I don't remember that. It sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, in Adventist circles, Loma Linda is like Johns Hopkins
Hmm.
or like MIT or
Yeah,
Columbia. Like
yeah.
it's a big
It's a
deal.
big, yeah, it's a big hospital. So now he's killed 4 people because he's killed a detective, Detective
Jeez.
McKay. The SBSD confirmed to the media that Dorner was barricaded in a cabin near the command center set up for the manhunt in a mountainous rural area northeast of Angeles Oaks, and that the building was surrounded by law enforcement. The Times reported that there were possibly hostages in the cabin with Dorner. A 3-mile perimeter was set up around the cabin,
So
and residents
so
were
if there were hostages, then they probably discharged 6,000 bullets into the cabin. Is that right?
eek. I'm not saying it. Your
I did,
words, not mine.
okay.
A 3-mile perimeter was set up around the cabin, and residents were told to remain inside with their doors locked. Can you imagine? Like somebody came to your door and was like, "You just as what you were saying earlier, but like you cannot leave. There's a gunman who's killed 4 people, so you need to stay in your house."
That's
Um,
crazy.
but the couple um, that owned that cabin, they were fine. They weren't in there with him at the time. This is
Oh,
coming
good.
to a head. Police initially attempted to force Dorner out of the cabin by using tear gas and demanding his surrender over loudspeakers. When Dorner did not respond, police used a demolition vehicle to knock down most walls of the building. They then shot pyrotechnic tear gas canisters into the cabin, which resulted in the cabin catching fire. Shortly
Oh my
thereafter,
God.
yeah.
It's like the LAPD. It was like their first day out. They're like, okay, let's be a real police department now. Let's see how many people we can shoot, maim, dismember, burn up, and like
Oh my God.
traumatize while we're trying to catch this one dude.
I know, right? Oh my God. It
Oh
was
my God.
terrible. It was like a movie. And now the cabin is like blowing up. Oh, God.
God.
So shortly thereafter, a single gunshot was heard from the cabin. As the fire continued, ammunition was exploding from within the cabin,
Oh
making it
God.
dangerous. Is making it dangerous for officials to try to put out the fire. Law
It's
enforcement,
it's like Tom and Jerry cartoon.
right? I know it sounds like that, except it's not funny because people died. Law enforcement examiners differ on whether it was justified to use pyrotechnic devices to end the standoff instead of waiting for Dorner to come out. On February 14, medical examiners confirmed during an autopsy using dental records that the charred body found in the burned out cabin was in fact that of Dorner. The following day, the SBSD announced the autopsy showed Dorner died from a single self inflicted gunshot wound to the head. At the same news conference, Sheriff John McMahon reiterated the claim that deputies had not deliberately set the cabin on fire. SBSD Captain Greg Herbert, who led the assault on the cabin, claimed that the canisters were a last resort, adding that the potential for fire was considered.
Last resort, it was 4th of July. They were like, well, let's combine pyrotechnics show with the national holiday. Oh, and we're catching this dude,
Oh my God. And the fact that there was ammunition inside that was just going off, God.
right? He must have
So
had a real stockpile.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. So no one will defend the inexplicable behavior Dorner showed toward those he murdered, but that doesn't mean some aren't considering the validity of the complaints that allegedly fueled his crime spree. Christopher Dorner, and I mentioned it earlier, claimed that his field training officer, Sergeant Teresa Evans, used excessive force during an arrest of a mentally ill suspect named Christopher Gettler. Dorner alleged that Evans kicked Gettler twice in the chest and once in the face while he was handcuffed on the ground. The LAPD investigated the complaint, finding that Dorner had made false statements and eventually fired him. Dorner's credibility was questioned due to the delay in reporting the incident and inconsistencies in his statements. Um, what flashes in my mind is George Floyd.
Yeah.
Um, I mean,
Or what
don't
about the
don't
guy?
come for me. Don't
Or
come for
what
me.
about the guy from the subway who was disabled and who sold cigarettes one by one?
Oh my God, that's so awful. There's so many
Yeah.
awful stories,
Yeah. He
but
was he was intellectually disabled.
right, I know. Yeah, that's what I know. I know. Whether Dorner's allegations were true or not, he has found sympathy among some segments of the LA community. Dorner inspired graffiti and online groups that speak out against the LAPD or in support of Dorner popped up. There were online protests against the LAPD, as well as a protest outside the department's headquarters on February 16, 2013. Protesters stated that they objected to the manner in which Dorner's dismissal was handled, the shooting of civilians by the LAPD during the manhunt, and the tactics used, which resulted in the fire in the cabin in which Dorner was hiding. The manhunt for Christopher Dorner caught the attention of the nation, but for some, the contents of Dorner's manifesto may be what people remember about the tragedy for years to come. Several supporters, many of them former minority law enforcement themselves, have backed the claims Dorner made. In the manifesto, Dorner focused on the racism and corruption he witnessed in the Los Angeles Police Department he would go on to terrorize. Yeah, there are a lot of people who question uh, or who are in support of. They don't condone what he did,
Right.
but they question whether his claims were true. You know, and that's
Right.
how I remembered this story. Was I was listening to another story where it was a case where someone tried to speak up and come forward and do the right thing, and it just backfired on them. I'm not saying, like I said, I don't know. No one except the people that were involved know the truth, right?
Well,
But
I
it,
will say that there is systemic racism against people of African American descent, people of color in America's police forces and the criminal justice system. If there wasn't, our prisons would not be full of black and brown people. And I mean
mhm,
predominantly black and brown people. Because guess what? There's plenty of white people also committing crimes and other people that are not
right.
white, but that are not black and brown. So I find it interesting that once in a while you run across someone who'll say, no, there's no racism. I mean, look at what's
It's
happening right
crazy.
now with deportations of undocumented people. They just allowed a bunch of white South Africans to have political asylum in the US, but we're taking black and brown people of color, people of with undocumented status, the same as these white South Africans, and we're shipping them off to countries one that they're not from. We're claiming that they have tattoos of gangs that they don't belong to, and a lot of these people are husbands and fathers and uncles and brothers and hardworking people who pay their taxes. So I have to say that, does that mean that everybody in the police force and in our criminal justice system is a racist
Or corrupt.
or corrupt? No, of
No, of
course
course
not.
not. Yeah,
Of
of course
course
not.
not. However,
It
you
only
know,
takes a couple, it only takes one bad apple to,
right.
uh,
In the words of Donny Osmond, one bad apple spoils a whole bad girl. Hey! But
was it Donny Osmond or Jackson's?
I don't know. But I will say that right now, with the removal of diversity, equality, and inclusion, how on earth are we ever going to expect over the next 3.5 years for there to be like an improvement in systemic racism or any kind of improvement in in these claims? Because remember, we don't have departments for people to go to now if they feel like they are being raised discriminated against. We don't
Right.
have advocacy or HR representatives who are specializing in diversity, equity, inclusion, which is not a bad word. It just means that what we're trying to do is we're trying to listen to everyone's point of view and let everyone have a seat at the table. But right now, they don't have seats at the table. So how can we expect situations like this to get better? We can't. So I feel like we're going to see an increase in the Breonna Taylors of the world, in the Trayvon Martins of the world, in the George Floyds of the world. People who, that doesn't mean that cops should go on shooting rampages and
Right.
unload 120 bullets into a car with an elderly Hispanic woman and her daughter. But I just had to say that, like, I don't know if you saw this, but the Smithsonian removed negative commentary about Rosa Parks, and it being a racist issue when everyone and their dog knows that Rosa Parks is Rosa Parks because she was forced to sit at the back of the bus and she decided, I'm not sitting at the back of the bus. I'm going to sit at the front of the bus because I just got on the front of the bus and I'm tired and my feet hurt and I'm going to sit down where I want to sit down.
Wherever, yeah, wherever I want.
And that's why she is That's why her name is so famous, because she decided, I'm not sitting on the back of the bus. So you can
Mm-hmm.
take away the story and the racist element and all that, and you can whitewash it as much as you want to, but the story of Rosa Parks is still Rosa Parks. And if there's a couple of dum-dums out there who think that they're, pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, well, guess what? In 3.5 years, we're putting the same fucking story back about Rosa Parks being forced off the bus and getting beat up and arrested and becoming a landmark, lightning rod for racism, equality, diversion, equality, and inclusion, because she stood up and said, I'm not doing this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and protect. You know what I mean? I get so, I'm sorry, I'm all fired up.
It's okay.
Woo!
Understandable.
I mean,
Yeah. What
it's nonsensical. It makes no sense at all. Just because somebody says, I'm going to change the verbiage on this, doesn't mean it didn't happen,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yes. You heard it here first, folks. I'm speechless.
Yeah. That's because I used all the words. I took I took
um,
them all away from you.
I wish I could remember what the story was that prompted me to go back and research this, because it was the same situation and it was really sad because the story was about someone trying to do the right thing, but you're up against people that are more powerful than you. And
Yeah.
I listen. I'm not saying that he was
In the right.
unfair. Yeah, I'm not saying he was in the right, and I'm really not saying that what he did was right. What
Right.
he did was wrong, wrong, wrong way to handle it. But what I am saying is, I can see how, if this was, whether it's what happened or not, I can see someone trying to do the right thing and getting pushback and being made to be the one that's a liar, and then getting fired, and then your life goes down the drain. It's sort of like the movie Falling Down. Have you ever seen that movie with Michael Douglas?
I think I did, but I think it was a really long time ago.
He's like going through a divorce, or he's on the rocks with his wife and he gets stuck in the LA traffic. Listen, the LA traffic would make you go cuckoo on any day, but
Right.
he has had it and he loses it. And again, I'm not saying that's the right way to handle anything, but this story, along with the one that I heard a little while ago that I can't remember, it was along those lines where somebody just completely loses it because they try to do the right thing and take the right avenues and this and that, and they just lose it.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell ya, I know I made some jokes, but this is no joking matter, guys. And the reason I make jokes is because murder can be a lot and it can also really bring us down. So I try to like create a little levity, make some jokes so that we can like not feel like we want to walk off of a plank or jump off of a high platform after listening to these kinds of episodes.
And you do a good job.
Thanks, Cheryl. You do too. Listen, guys, if yeah, e- listen, if you learned anything from this episode, make sure your kids and friends and exchange students and nannies that come from other countries and tourists know about Rosa Parks and that what she did and why she did it. Because if you don't, uh, tell them the truth about Rosa Parks, then you're a real asshole. And that's a real crime. But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.